So, ladies and one gentleman.
I was counting. Very easy.
He's very often the only man in the place. Jean-Michel, but you're happy about it, huh?
Yeah. Or
yes, you would, especially on these kind of topics.
Yeah.
Huh? So, thank you so much for being here, and thank you really a lot to Cargill to host us. Maybe I can leave the floor to Sonia so that you can welcome us.
Yes, so welcome to Cargill. So who know Cargill or heard about it? Yeah, Cargill, that's a good thing. On the other, yes, or jump? No. I know people who work there. So you're not so known because we are B2B, so that's what we're not so known. So what I think we are doing is helping people that are able to thrive. And we are good people, so people we are working for, and people who are working with us. So our stakeholders, so our employee, very important, but also our customer, our suppliers, the consumer, for whom our customer are working for, potential candidates are going to be working for us in the future, the government, the NGOs we're working with, and the community we are operating in. All those people we care for. And we are very old company. We celebrated last year 150 years, and that's a private company, so that is helping us to work in and work for the future. We are a big company also. We have 150,000 employees. We are located in 17 countries. We are split in 70 businesses, and our goal is to be the leader in nourishing the world. We operate in 4 categories, so in food, agriculture, chemicals, and here we are in the R&D center, so we are doing a lot of science here. This site was created in 1965. It used to be a Delac, and you can see what some Delac cookies are because we still like the Delac cookies. In 2002, Cargill acquired Celesta company, what was the name of the company here. And in 2014, we had a big 8 million investment, and this is a new building you're going to saw at the end of this building with a new pilot plant. So we are really investing in this region. So this is the big hub for EMEA, Europe, Middle East, Africa. But also we are linking to our North America and Latin America and Asian innovation centers. So we are also international on that. We have 162 employees here on site. 15 nationality, and we're almost parity, so wow. 49 women. A lot of visitors, also because we want to show our facilities and our expertise to our customers. So a lot of visitors every year. High engagement force, so 80% on the institutions, also very important. So every 2 or 3 years, Elga, we do the
2 years.
Every 2 years, we have the engagement survey, and one of the questions is about including how you feel in your company, and if you feel you can act as yourself. So, and we are scoring quite high on that. And 60% of the employee have a master or PhD degree. And also, because we are very effective, 70% of all EMEA patents are generated from it. And Cass can tell you all about it because she's the IP lawyer, so this is thanks to her who are achieving that number. So this is in a nutshell what we do. So welcome to that site, and I'm really excited to hear about that topic, because that's a kind of interesting topic. So I'm giving the floor back to Isabella.
Thank you so much, Sonia. It's really a pleasure for us to be here, and it's the first time we are not within Brussels, but slightly outside, and I've discovered that for many of you it's much easier to reach the bigger Brussels region than to come inside the region. So this is the agenda. I will do a summary of the studies that do tend to prove that there is a link between performance, financial and non-financial, and gender balance in management. And then we will have Jean-Michel Monod. So Jean-Michel is an ambassador of GEM. Jean-Michel comes from Sodexo. He had a long life at Sodexo. He really takes charge of diversity with Sodexo. He has a lot of experience. And now it's a great moment for him because it is his first speech not being labeled Sodexo, but his new company that is called, he has chosen a fantastic name. The name of his company, so for consultancy company, is All Inclusive. Isn't it great? And it's not all diverse, it's all inclusive. But I'm sure we will speak about that. And then we will have a testimonial of Cass about what's happening in Cargill. And after that, we will have exchanges of practices. Because the most important thing coming to the hub sessions are really the exchange of practices. So we want to be pragmatical. I think there is something that needs to be known about the general knowledge of equality, but then it's how to implement that within your business. So this is the program of the hub. Some of you did register for all the sessions. Some of you didn't. Pay attention because we have changed the date of the next one, the hidden obstacles. We will have Inge Woestra for the ones who did listen to Inge Woestra at the Jump Forum. You did. How was she?
She was really good.
She was good. She has written a book, and she has a very long life within the business, and then she left as a consultant like Jean-Michel, and she has a lot to say to businesses in order to be gender bilingual, and she's really great. And so we wanted to take the opportunity of her presence within the Jump Academy in total, because we do nurture, I would say, thanks to the Jump Academy, the network of equality of Total, and they wanted absolutely to have her, and so we switched the date in order to have her also for the hub. And then recruitment practices, because it begins from there, from recruitment, and for some of you that are more technological or industrial businesses, it's much more difficult to attract women. And then strategic planning and accountability, which is absolutely the thing necessary in order to have more impact for your gender equality plan. Alors, this is our next Jump Forum. If you have subsidiaries, other companies that you know in Paris, please let me know, because so that we will send them the information. We do it at the OECD for the first time. We are very proud about that. And I don't know if you have seen, just next to Georges, you have the badges, and you have also the sorority bead. These are small gadgets that do really demonstrate your involvement in gender equality. So the badges, we did one for women, okay, but also for men, allied to women's equality. So you can offer it maybe to the ambassadors of gender equality in your company. Proud to be a woman, because I think Jump is about not making women like men, but really we try to raise inclusion, so making valorizing the differences, and the sorority bead, égalité, fraternité, liberté, égalité, fraternité, fraternité, frère, brotherhood. We wanted to do something about sisterhood, because I don't know if you have read the book of Sherry Sander, Lean In. It's the Bible for all of us. It's really a fantastic book. And Sherry Sandberg, who's the CEO of Facebook, said at a certain point in her book that there is a lack of solidarity between women, and that we should much more demonstrate our support to other women. And so I had, by reading the book, I had the idea of doing something that would prove that you are supporting another woman. And this is the sorority bead. The bead is made by Tibetan women in exile in India, and so the person that you to whom you give the bead can put it in a key or at an iPhone. So that every time, bravo, Sonia, great. Every time you see it, every time the person sees it, she will remember that someone is trusting her. Alors, let's begin. I'm a bit too close to the screen. Voilà. So we will do the summing up of the most important studies on the topic. There are plenty of studies, plenty. I really did choose the biggest one, the most famous one, I would say. But all of them are going exactly in the same directions. We will do it on the two aspects, the financial performance and the organizational performance. Alors, why is it, on what kind of pillars is the gender equality settled in the businesses? Of course, because it needs to attract the best talent, because we are, as you know, 60% of the graduates, which makes of women the biggest talent pool. And so how can we do as a company without the biggest talent pool? The market intelligence, I like very much that word, market intelligence, because 80% of the purchasing decision on consumer goods, of course, not on B2B, but B2B it's more and more, 80% are decided by women. Of course, market intelligence means that you need women to decide about marketing, about packaging, about the relation, the kind of relationship that are made with the customers. So it's really market intelligence. Improve your corporate image. Hi, Sarah. Improve your corporate image. This is something that in Belgium we are fine with it. Companies talk about gender equality. Unfortunately, very few walk the talk. So this is the step that we need to go to. But improve corporate image. Everybody, of course, around the table knows how much it is important in order to give a modern image, a corporate social responsible image of your company. Increase your organizational effectiveness because, and we will see it with the experience that Jean-Michel had within Sodexo, it really has an impact on the engagement of employers. It really helps to retain women and men, especially women, but not only, also men. And drive for better financial performance. We will see how it impacts. So,
just one.
Yes.
Yeah,
Of course. What we do is that we deliver afterwards, thank you for the question, because I forgot, a tube board. A tube board is a tool that is a web-based tool, and there you have the list of participants, you have the presentation, you have also a link to all the studies that helped us to make the presentation. So you will, not immediately, but you will. Voilà. So, happy teams. So we begin with non-financial indicators. According to a study of the European Commission, you see diversity has a positive impact on employee motivation, customer satisfaction, and brand image. Alors, last year at the Jump Forum, we invited Gloria Moss. I don't know how many of you, yes, Laure remembers her. Gloria Moss is really a specialist of marketing, and she said that the things that were really appreciated by women were different than the things, the packaging, for example, and how the product is made is very much different from the appreciation of men. And in most of the cases, in advertising agencies, you have, of course, in the creative jobs, you have a lot of women. But the problem is that they don't think about women as customers, even if they are women themselves. They think about a norm. And so they will design for packaging, for example, things with angles instead of curves. They will design something with colors that are more gray, brown, and so on, in order not too flashy. And it is proved that women love things with flashy colors. And so they will, completely unconsciously, they will choose for the masculine norm, even if they are women. So it is important. It's not because you have plenty of women in your team of marketing, of production, and so on, that your products will be similar to their taste. They really need to have a gender training, also not to be biased by the masculine norm. This is something that I really appreciate a lot is that, sorry, I had the image only in French. The more you have measures in favor of gender equality, the more women feel self-confident. This is really incredible as a graph, because that means that when you test, when you survey the level of ambition of men and women, the more the company has not only a speech about gender equality, but also effective measures, they feel much more confident in achieving higher levels. And so they are more ambitious. Always on the organizational performance. Bain, Catalyst, McKinsey, all of them have exactly the same recommendation. It's not about putting one woman and it's done in the management team, for example. It's about putting at least 3 women. Because otherwise, if you have only one woman, it would be very much difficult for her to exist exactly as she would like to be. Because of course the dominance is so much masculine that she will adapt, and so the company will not benefit, will not become more rich with her difference. So three or more women all the time. Here, so McKinsey identified 3 key leadership behaviors, 9, what do I say? 9 key leadership behaviors. These are the key leadership behaviors, and then they tested people on how much they would feel that it is a behavior that is that they do encounter more in women or in men. I do suppose that all of us would agree with these 9 key leadership behaviors that are selected here. And what we do see is that women are looked like being much better in people development, expectations and rewards, and role models. These 2 are linked to the so-called empathy, emotional intelligence, of course. But women apply slightly more, also better in inspiring other people and having a decision-making participative, more than autoritaire. Women and men apply equally on intellectual stimulation, hopefully, and efficient communication. This seems quite surprising, efficient communication, but this is fine. But men apply more in individualist decision-making, of course, and control and corrective action, but, you know, being very forceful, straightforward, and not dealing too much with the state of mind of the others. But so it's these are the results of surveys made on either men and women. This is very, very, very curious. There is a tendency to say in the traditional feminist that it is not, and I really do believe that, it is not about biological differences that we can explain these behavioral differences. It's because when you are a woman, you are much more respected and liked if you have more empathy, if you can listen to the others. If you don't behave like that as a woman, it's very difficult for you because you will not be appreciated. And so what happens is that, of course, you will value these kind of behaviors because everybody prefers to be liked than to be disliked. So it's really what is really the difference and what is the result of the stereotypes, of these cliches, of these biases. And of course we have a different kind of education. This is the difference between the sex and the gender. The gender is how we were educated, the kind of role we are expecting to play within the society. And the role we are expecting to play is much more about caring the others instead of being the breadwinners. And so we develop, of course, much more all these qualities. I don't think that men are enabled to develop these. It's because the society, how it works, they don't help them to develop this kind of behaviors. So we always need to pay attention to this, is it biological or is it the environment? Anyhow, I think it's not a real question because we will never know how much the weight of one will be and of the other. Because anyhow, we will be educated in one society, in one environment. So we will never know.
But would you not agree that this delta is kind of switching now with the new generation? I mean, if I look at the Gen Y, male and female, that I would say the gaps between the two are probably getting closer, because one of the things we were talking in the company was, I think solving that gender challenge will enable to retain all the new generation. Because I mean, if I look at what are the worries, the culture that you need to drive in order to make the woman happy, you automatically develop a culture which is going to fit with what are the needs and the desire of the new generation. So based on that, I would guess that there is an evolution happening also in the way we are educating them, and that we have a chance to reduce that.
I think you're right, because girls tend to be more educated like men nowadays than before. But this is absolutely true until the moment they become parents. And at the moment that they have their first child, then the roles are completely, are becoming very traditional. And so the man feels he is a breadwinner and he wants to make a career and tends to have some kind of leadership behaviors that are different to women. And anyhow, even the small, I do see that with my daughters, they are really liked if they behave like a girl. If they behave like a boy, even if they are 15, 18, doesn't matter. And so they will anyhow develop this kind of personality, this kind of traits. But you're right on one very important point, is that everything that is made to attract and retain women does attract and retain young men also. Absolutely. And all men too?
Yeah.
Ah.
No, really.
You have figures on that?
No, but it's everything that is done positively for women benefit to men too, except they have less jobs, no responsibility. But we can come back on that later.
The stuff we were also talking with Brigitte just now is I think the old man, put it this way, have often young girls at home, and then I mean they also see the benefit, because when we were talking and I think it was one of the topics, you're touching their heart, right, by creating a culture which is going to enable the growth of their own kids. So automatically, I've seen that with our management, right? They were seen as being someone really.
Did your managers answer to our survey?
Yes.
Do men want more equality?
I'm sure you
And we will issue all the results in a few weeks, and you're completely right. The more men, if they are fathers of daughters, they are much more sensitive about that question. The less sensitives are the middle managers that are single.
But it would be interesting indeed to do an analysis also on age, because I do find indeed that men, especially at senior level in their 50s, etc., who have daughters who are getting into the job market are very sensitive to these stories. You have juniors coming in who are a new generation and they expect a new kind of workplace, but the middle layer in between is the layer that typically feels threatened and doesn't really know. They're not at an age yet where they have children that are old enough to go into the job market themselves, and they still think, well, it's going to happen. But also not of the generation, also raised.
Generation and position within the company. What we found out is that the middle managers are very much resistant to equality, because of course it reduces their chances of getting higher. It's really, it's not surprising, but it's strong. It's a strong resistance. And the more you're higher in the hierarchy, even if you're, of course, of an older generation, not very keen on gender equality, but the more you see how much it is important for your company to have to be gender balanced, and so you're much more an ambassador of that than middle managers. We have to do something on men in the middle managers. Men 35, 45. These are really the most resistant. But what we will do a presentation at the British Chamber of Commerce, Christine, on the results of the. Which date is it? We don't know yet. It's in June, huh?
No, it's in September.
In September. If you want to have that that information, we can Senator.
I just want to say, because even the senior leader, I find that even they are resistant because they need to, I would say, put together the management team that should be very performant. And what I see as well is that if the women of the wife doesn't work, it's very difficult for them to conceive that the women can travel 80% of her time.
Yeah.
And they say, I cannot nominate this person at that level of position because it's a kind of risk point, you know.
Yeah.
So even senior for different reasons are also a bit more pushing back on where I want to put the mix of my team in this.
Yes, in the fact, but they are more conscious about the need of doing something.
They understand.
Yeah, they slightly understand.
The work that
Yeah,
they more.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
understand.
I had a great discussion on Monday night with two guys of the European Commission. There is really, not a quota, but there is a strong objective in the Commission. And so they tend to really promote women much more to a higher level. And these men said that they really felt that the women that were promoted were not the good ones. And they give me two examples, and I fully agree. But I said it's not because there is objectives, there is a gender equality plan that they are promoted. It's because there is a very bad talent management that are promoting not the right people. Mm-hmm. But it's like Kurt Reis is saying. He says if one woman gets higher because there is an objective and she's not good at the job, then she becomes, okay, you see the women in general, and he calls it anecdata. Instead of anecdote, anecdata. It becomes a data that women don't need objectives in order to get higher because the promoted ones are the bad ones. So it's very touchy, very, very touchy. Let's go ahead. So organization excellence once more. Companies with 3 or more women on their boards, this is for boards only, have better results on 9 dimensions. And you see the 9 dimensions, the dimensions that go the more higher, it's direction, coordination and control, leadership team, work environment and values. I think this is a very good graphic too, always by McKinsey.
But just only one point on motivation.
Just one point of, it's not very high. I agree. It's not very high. It's not very high. Impact on financial performance. Business. So, all of them, Catalyst, Goldman Sachs, McKinsey, have more or less the same kind. They have the same kind of the same trends and the same, more or less the same kind of figures. They all of them do analyze the impact on return on equity and total return to shareholders. And everywhere it goes higher. The more you have gender balance in your management team, the more you have better financial results. Let's see here. This is from McKinsey. Average return on equity. The difference of 0 women in the executive committee and committees that have at least 3 or more. The same kind of figure on the EBIT margin. These figures are quite old, but what the new figures, they don't have real figures, McKinsey, but they have trends, and they say that it's really going in the same direction still now. This is from Schema. Schema is a business school in France, and Michel Ferrari has created an index, index de la féminine, index, c'est qu'il l'appelle, index de la féminité des entreprises. Féminisation, pas féminité, non. Féminisation des entreprises. It's a great result. First of all, he analyzes, I think, 48 companies. Within these 48 companies, he discovered that on average, 35% of the total workforce were women. 30% of the managers were women, on the average, but only 10% in the management committee. And what then he analyzes that? Is there a positive correlation between the number of women in the management committee and performance, in the management and performance, or in the workforce and performance. The only thing where it doesn't find a really positive correlation is the feminization of the executive committee. But what I do think is that because he has a lot of companies within these 48 that have no women on the management committee. So it's very much complicated to analyze the correlation. So his finding is there is no correlation between the number of women in the exec and performance, but there is a strong one, especially if you have women managers, senior managers, not top managers, but senior managers. He has given the prize, le prix orange, à Sodexo, because he had, that means and le prix citron à LVMH. Why orange? Orange because Sodexo tends to have, the more they have women in the workforce, the more they have them in the management, and the more they have them in the executive committee. It's almost parity in the executive committee, 43%, which is really great. So this is a company that is really promoting talent. Instead, LVMH has more than 70% of the workforce that are women, but then they tend to decrease very much. Even if they are higher, there are a certain number of women and really a lot of women in the management, fewer ones, but still they are in the executive committee. The correlation is decreasing, and not like Sodexo, which is really tending to be exactly similar.
So all those studies, Isabella, you will put them in?
Yeah. Absolutely. This is a study from the Credit Suisse. This is the worldwide, and we do see that what is surprising is that the real difference between companies, performance of companies that have no women or that have at least 3 women in the board is that it began from the crisis of 2008. And they explain it in the way that having more mixed people within the boards and the top management helps to be a bit more prudent, a bit more, not risk averse, because otherwise they wouldn't go ahead, but at least not to take completely crazy risks. This is how they explain it. This is for Europe. You see the differences a bit slighter. But anyhow, 18%. That means there is something. So this is about female representation in management implies higher annual average return. We see all the curves do depend on how many women. So 25 women representation, 33, 50%. So this is really, it's really, all the curves are going exactly in the same direction. So the higher the threshold is, and the better the performance. This is not from a microeconomic point of view, but from a macroeconomic point of view, which is so much important for our businesses too, because we need growth in our economies in order to have growth in our companies. If women would work as much as men, that means two different factors. The same number of women in the workforce as men, but also the same number of hours that are worked by women as men. So this is the rate of participation within the economy. If that would be similar, if that would be equal, then we would have an increase of 27% in the GDP. It's exactly the same figure for Belgium. It is of course much higher in Italy, in Spain, even in Germany. In Greece, don't even speak about it, because the less women are working, the more, if they would work, they would have an increase in the GDP. Why? But we know these things. It's always useful to remember them, but we know it. Because we are 60% of the talent pool. Because we are more and more, we have more and more importance on the market. Aviva Little-Cox says that because we are deciding 80% of the purchasing of consumer goods, we are not part of the market. We are the market. Women are the market. because of course we know that diversity brings more innovation, more creativity, every kind of diversity, not only gender, of course. And I like very much that sentence, because companies that have diversity and manage it properly, because it's not only of counting people, which is diversity, but making people count, which is inclusion. So they need to manage it properly to make better decisions, produce better products, and retain several key business advantages. So we could discuss about le fait à poule. It's because you have a very good management, especially talent management, that you have more women, and then of course more performance, or is it because you have more women that it increases your organizational performance and increases of course your financial results? I do think that really it has an impact on both, of course. We cannot have one without the other, because otherwise if we have a very bad talent management, I don't speak about the European Commission because they are functionaries, but if you have a very bad talent management, not an inclusive culture, then what will happen is that women will leave. Mostly women compared to men. Alors, another kind of debate that we could have, but I don't think this is something that you will push for. So Patrick Jean, for example, I brought Patrick Jean to Euroclear last time to our last session on how to engage men, and he said that he really disliked that kind of surveys of results, because he says having more gender balance within management is not a question of performance. It's a question of being socially responsible, of being socially fair, and because by putting these kind of figures, you put a very important pressure on the shoulders of women, because you say, if you bring better results, that means you have to be better at your job. And I really do understand what he says. But nevertheless, all of us are working within business, and we know that these kind of reasons do push for better diversity, because otherwise, if the other kinds of reasons would have an impact on our leaders, on our economic leaders, we wouldn't be here. We would be equal in the marketplace. But I think this is anyhow an argument that we need to keep in our mind. Before giving the floor to Jean-Michel, I would like to celebrate two things. First one is, so Jean-Michel is my knowledge data bank on gender. I can always call him and he will always help me. He's really one of the biggest ambassadors of JUMP, and I love it so much, and really, if I know all these things today, it's partly thanks to him. And around the table, there is another person that I really do appreciate that has another kind of knowledge data bank for me about equality. C'est Françoise. And it's her birthday today, and she's the responsible of the Institut de l'égalité entre les femmes et les hommes. So,